What's going on, guys? It's HawkWX, and today I'm going to be doing my way too early RLCS 2024 World Championship power rankings. And I'm only going to be ranking the 16 teams that are actually going to Worlds. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have this absolutely majestic presentation here. I made a PowerPoint for this. We're going full nerd mode today. And also guys, you may disagree with some of my rankings. I think there's a couple rankings on here that are gonna probably surprise some of you, but don't let my power rankings list ruin your day. Alright, so here we go. At number 16, I have Limitless, To Die For, Snowy, and Sweaty. Main reasoning, they're an SSA team. They're good, but not quite on the same level as the other 15 teams. I feel like that's understandable. I don't think that anybody really expects Limitless to do anything crazy at the major, or at Worlds, I should say. And I don't think there's anywhere else you can really put them besides number 16. Alright, so at number 15, we have Gladiators. This is Max Utho and Virtuoso. And my main reasoning, I mean, they're an APAC team, and I'm not trying to throw shade at APAC and SSA here. It's just the way it is. They just haven't had as much LAN experience as the other regions have, so it makes sense that they aren't quite as good as the other teams. And my other reasoning, they're good, but not quite as on the same level as the other 14 teams, but they do have upset potential. We saw them beat, I believe it was at the last major just in London, I believe they beat Chiefs, which the Chiefs were the OCE number 2 seed, so that's honestly a pretty impressive win for APAC. And they're making progress. I think that this team could upset teams that like go into it expecting them to not be good, or expecting it to be easy. But I mean, where else can you really put them besides number 15? But I do think they're better than Limitless. Now going into number 14, I have the Pioneers. So this is the OCE number 2 seed. It's Amphis, Fiber, and Scrub. I think that they are pretty good, but they're just not even on the same level as Power. And I honestly don't think that they're gonna do anything special at Worlds. I don't think that they're that great of a team. I don't even know, like if they were to play Gladiators, I honestly think it would be a 50-50 matchup. I don't think Pioneers is great, but they're still a good team. I just don't see them doing anything spectacular at Worlds. And my other reasoning here, they have a chance to prove people wrong, as we have seen Power do, but will they do it? Probably not. Alright guys, next up, I might have my first controversial take, and this is the MENA 2 seed that's going to Worlds, and it's anything. I just don't think that I can really justify putting them anywhere but here, and I'll read my reasoning as to why. MENA 2 seeds have not impressed me at all yet this season, and they're definitely very talented, the most talented so far on this list, and may have a shot to upset several teams ahead of them, but I can't put them anywhere but here for now. And I think that's justifiable. I mean, we saw what Twisted Minds did at the major in London. They did about how we expected, I think. Well, at least how I expected. I really didn't think they'd do great, and they didn't do phenomenally. They definitely could have done better. That team is very good, but because of anything not being able to make the London major over Twisted Minds, I think that says quite a bit. I don't think it says everything, because obviously Nupo's a very good player, Venom's a very good player. I don't know a ton about Mayshow. I don't think you can put anything anywhere but 13. It's just, they're really hard to rate because we haven't seen them play at a major at all, period. So it's really hard to rank them, I think, but I think 13 is really the only place I can put them. But they do have upset potential. Nupo, Mayshow, and Venom, like there's teams ahead of them that they could definitely beat. Honestly, once I get into my top, I'll say my top 9. Once I get into my top 9, I don't think I could see anything beating any of those teams. But anyway, let's go to number 12 now. And at 12, I have Power. We have OCE moving up here for me. We got Banana Head, Fever, and Torsauce on this team. Obviously, we saw Power surprise us, honestly, at the London major. They beat Oxygen. I don't think anybody expected that. I didn't expect it. That is a really big move for Power. That shows that when they're playing the way that they actually can, they might actually have some good upset potential. I just talked about how they beat Oxygen, but I'll read the rest of my reasoning. They have it in them to make it competitive with the top dogs, but can they do it consistently? I think that's the biggest question. I personally don't think they will do it consistently, and it's mainly because they are an OCE. They don't get to play against the top dogs all the time, but obviously when they're playing well, they can beat Oxygen. If they can beat Oxygen, who else can they beat? It just depends, because Oxygen, even if they weren't playing very well, obviously Oxygen wasn't playing well, that's still an impressive win, because Oxygen not playing well, still, you would expect them honestly to be better than Power. At least I would. And then my last reason, I think they're the first OCE team in years with a chance to legitimately have an outside shot of making top 8. And I really do think that. I think that Power, it seems like they make top 5, or not top 5, it seems like they make round 5 every single time at majors. I really do think that they have a chance to make top 8, but I don't honestly think they'll do it. OCE's making moves regardless. Alright, so coming in at number 11, 7, this one might surprise some of you guys, but I have Team Secret. So this is Brad, KV1, and Mata, and my main reasoning, they are very solid and play with good pace. They can certainly upset good teams. We saw that. They beat OG at the London Major, which you might be wondering, oh, OG's not on this list yet, you must have them ahead of Team Secret, and I do. And that is because I think, as my second main reasoning there, they beat OG last time, but I feel like OG would win if they were to play again at Worlds, and I do think that. I think that OG had control of that series at first, and then they kind of just started to crumble, and OG has not performed on LAN yet how they do online, and I think if OG plays how they should be the favorite to beat Team Secret, even if Team Secret's playing how they should. And that's just my opinion. I know that that might seem wrong, but honestly, I do think OG is a little bit better, even after losing at the London Major. And then my last point, they're the same number 2 seed, and they have a shot at top 8. I do think that. I do think they really do have a shot at top 8. They made round 5 last time at the London Major, so I don't think it's crazy to say that they have a shot at top 8. All right, guys, coming in at number 10, we have our first NA team. This is Calm, Jnaps, and Nola. You guys know all about them. My main reasoning, they're just a solid team. You know what you're going to get with them. They play soundly. If they can play on LAN how they do online, which is what I was just talking about, top 8 is not out of the picture for them. They have unfortunately been disappointing on LAN so far, earning this spot. I put earning this spot there, and I meant that not in like a, oh, good job, you earned this spot. I put it as like a, oh, you earned this spot. You haven't impressed us. And that's what I mean. I just don't think OG has reached, they just obviously haven't reached the level that they play online on LAN. And that's why they're 10. Honestly, you could put them lower. You could justify putting them where anything is even, I would say. Or maybe, I don't think you could put them below Power. You could justify putting them below Secret for sure. Obviously, they lost a Secret at LAN. I mean, they've earned this spot. They just haven't done anything spectacular at LAN yet. And we know what they can do. They just haven't done it yet. But I don't think I can put them anywhere below 10. All right, next up. Now, this is the most controversial take in my whole entire video. I've been seeing people put this team as high as the top 4. And yeah, you're probably like, oh, whoa, he's already messed up his list. If we're putting a top 4 team at number 9, to me, it's not a top 4 team. And I think that this team can be switched out with a team ahead of them. The team that I have right ahead of them, I think that they can be put at number 8. I don't think they can be put anywhere above, I don't know, 9 or 8. I really don't. But that team is Furia. I know this might sound crazy, but it's Drafinha, Lost, and Yan. They made top 4 last time. They beat Vitality, which everybody is, I think that this is just too heavily recency bias, okay? So everybody right now is saying, oh, they're a top 4 team. They beat Vitality. They did all this. They did all that. But I just don't think they're going to do it consistently. And that's my opinion. They went to round 5 of the major. They got handled by SSG. You'll just have to see the rest of my top 8 ahead of this team and then see what you have to say. My main reasoning though, they have absurd potential when they show up. SSG comfortably beat them, showing weakness, but they also beat Vitality, which is why everybody's saying they're a top 4 team, because they made top 4 at the London Major. But I really don't think that people should be leaning so heavily into that like they are. And then this team can win Worlds if they play at their highest level, which we have seen plenty of times, but will they do it? I don't think so. There's just so many times where I feel like Furia just honestly dies. Like they're playing at a really high level, they're playing really fast to the series before, and then they go into their next series and it's just like, what team is this? And it's just like, you can't win Worlds if you're playing like that, and you can't, consistency wise, you can't be put ahead of the other 8 teams I have on this list because of the consistency that they play with. That's my main reasoning. Furia is just not consistent enough, but they can seriously win Worlds. I really do think that, but I just don't think it'll happen. I mean, we saw them play G2 also. G2 handled them. It's just, I don't know. So number 8, I have SSG, and this is Chicago, Hoxer, and LJ. My main reasoning, we did not see their peak at London, but they managed to make top 8 regardless. They beat Furia comfortably and went to 5 with Falcons. They have LJ. If Hoxer and Chicago are on, watch out. And all those points are extremely valid to me. And I know that this might be part of my NA bias coming out. I do like NA personally, but that didn't affect this list. I really don't think it did affect this list. I just think that the peak SSG that we can see is the SSG that takes G2 to 7 like we saw in NA regionals. It's just really hard to rate SSG. I think SSG and Furia are both interchangeable to me. It's the same thing as my major predictions video. I think that having Furia and SSG in your top 8, either one, you can flip in or out for each other, I think. I just think the way that they played Furia, the fact that they went to 5 with Falcons, Swiss Falcons too, we have to emphasize that because they crushed everybody they played in Swiss. It was insane. We did not see, I know for a fact, guys, we did not see Hoxer and Chicago play as well as they can. People forget how mechanical Hoxer is and how good of a just play creator he is. And Chicago is just, he's your veteran. He's gonna be solid no matter what. And he was a huge reason to why G2, the old G2, JNAP, Chicago, and Atomic was so good. We didn't see Hoxer and Chicago even play at their highest level, in my opinion, and they still made top 8. And LJ, man, you just know what you're going to get every single time with LJ. So having them at number 8 ahead of Furia to me is justifiable, but I think you can have Furia. I think honestly, Furia and SSG are interchangeable for me. And I also do have teams further up on this list, way further up on this list, that I think are also interchangeable. But here we go with number 7. I think this makes a lot of sense. It's Gen G here. Apparently Jack, Chronic, and First Killer. So main reasoning, we are yet to see this team peak, and we know what they're capable of. Unfortunately, given their potential, they have been rather disappointing. If they can find their form, they can win Worlds. I truly do believe that. They have beaten G2 G2 quite a few times in NA regionals, and that goes a long way. And they did beat them actually on LAN in Copenhagen. So basically, the fact that they've beaten G2 and they've competed with top teams multiple times. I mean, in Copenhagen, they took Gentlemates to 7, and Gentlemates went on to win that tournament, and they completely dominated everybody they played, honestly, besides Gen G. Like, obviously, I don't think anybody will argue that if they put it together and they play at the peak that they can find, that we think they should be able to find at least, they should be able to win Worlds. Like, it'd honestly be a really strong contender to win Worlds. But it's just like the consistency hasn't been there, and when the consistency isn't there, you really just can't go anywhere above 7, in my opinion, at least for Gen G. If you can win in NA regional a couple times, and against G2, you can have a shot to win Worlds. You just need to have that form consistently. They haven't. That's why they're number 7. All right, now moving on to number 6, I have Team BDS, and we have Drawley Exotic and Monkey Moon here. And my main reasoning, they have Monkey Moon. What else do I need to say? Drawley is arguably top 5 in the world. They have a legit chance to win Worlds. They just need to be consistent and need to be in their EU regional winning form. And I think that's the biggest thing with BDS is consistency. If they can play at that level that we've seen multiple different times when they do win EU regionals, they can win Worlds. Like, if they play at that level, it's just, are we going to see the EU regional winning form, or are we going to see the getting 4-0'd by Gentlemates form? It just, we don't know. But I mean, I do think that BDS, the reason I have them at 6 and the reason that I have them ahead of Gen G is because I think that Monkey Moon, Exotic, and Drawley are all going to work incredibly hard going into Worlds, and I think that it's going to pay off. I think 6 is just a fair spot to have them, and I think that I really do think they have a strong chance to win Worlds if they can find that EU regional winning form. All right, next, moving on to number 5, we have Team Vitality, Alpha 54, Rados, and Zen. There's not much I have to say here. They are last season's world champion and most dominant team. They have Zen. When they are on, they can and will beat anybody. One of the most consistent teams in the world this season. And Vitality, man, you just know what you're going to get with them. You want to talk about consistency. This is arguably one of the best teams to look at for consistency. I think 5 is extremely deserving for them. I think that if you look at any team behind them, who can you justify saying, oh, if they play a best of 7 at Worlds, that team's going to beat Vitality? Like, BDS could do it, Gen G could do it, Furia can do it. Obviously, Furia did it. SSG even might be able to do it. But I think once you get outside that, I mean, there's no team outside of those ones behind them that I have on this list that's gonna beat Vitality. I just honestly think that Vitality would very likely be the favorite to beat any of the teams that I have behind them right now on this list in a best of 7. All right, guys, now this could be my most controversial take on the whole list. I know that I had Furia at 9, but this is one you've probably been wondering. Oh, where's Karmine? Oh, where's Karmine? And guess what? They're not on this list. Just kidding. Number 4, I got Karmine Corp, man. It's Atao, Rise, and Vatira. And you guys, I mean, you guys gotta drop the recency bias, okay? Main reasoning, this team will remind everyone how good they are at Worlds. Slumping happens, and if this team breaks out of it or is out of their slump, they will likely win Worlds. These players are simply too good, and recency bias has people somehow forgetting. Guys, I know that they completely missed out on an EU regional. They didn't even make it to the London Major. But you guys gotta realize, man, did you forget Vatira's championship Sunday streak? Did you guys forget that Rise played in a World Championship Grand Final? Did you guys forget how good Atao is? I mean, you, like, think about it. Like, honestly, think about it. Put recency bias aside. Karmine Corp, they won 3 EU regionals. They won all 3 regionals in the first split in EU, which is insane. First of all, just doing that in EU in the most competitive region. Just think about it, okay? Just think about it. Just picture Karmine Corp, all right? Put them in a best of 7 at the World Championship, all right? Best of 7 at the World Championship. Put them against Vitality. Who do you have winning? All right, be real with yourself. Don't think about the fact, you just can't lean too strongly into the fact that they missed an open, or that they missed an EU regional. I know that that is a pretty big deal, but like, this is just my opinion. This is why I have them at number 4. I think about them against anybody behind them on this list right now. I think about them against Vitality. I think about them against BDS. I think about them against Gen G. I think about them against SSG. I think about them against Furia. And then outside of that, it doesn't really matter that much. I can't see any of those teams that I just listed beating Karmine Corp in a best of 7 at the World Championship. That is why I have Karmine at number 4. I think you guys will be reminded how good this team is at Worlds, and I would not be surprised at all if they win the World Championship. In fact, they are one of my personal favorites to win Worlds. Obviously, if you go by power rankings, they are my 4th best option at who I think has a shot to win Worlds. Going to number 3, this team here, okay, just don't take this too hard, all right? This team can be swapped with number 2. 2 and 3 can swap. Gentlemates Alpine, Itachi, Juicy, and Seiko. Main reasoning, simply can no longer be doubted on LAN. I personally was like, oh, oh, they haven't done anything crazy in EU. They still haven't won a regional in EU. So they probably aren't going to do it again on land, right? Well, I was wrong. They proved me wrong again. They proved everybody wrong. I think it's to the point where you just literally can't doubt them on land at all now. Like you really can't have them outside your top 4. They're almost objectively a top 4 team at Worlds, in my opinion. Like, I think most people would have them in their top 4. They're the second most consistent team on land, Copenhagen major champions as well. They outpace nearly everybody and force you to make mistakes. They are a favorite to win Worlds. You might also see my point that says second most consistent team on land and be like, oh, why don't you have them at number 2? And that is simply because they lost to the team that is in second place ahead of them in my power ranking. Yeah, that brings me, now you know who number 2 is, and that also probably gives away number 1. But number 2, I have Team Falcons. We have Colliers, Ruas, and TRK 511. My main reasoning, possibly the fastest team in the world, incredibly high peak, had an insane run at the London Major, beat SSG, BDS, G2, and Mates before losing in the grand finals in a rematch with G2, a favorite to win Worlds, all extremely talented ones players as well. Guys, they made the grand finals at London. They beat Gentlemates, which is a huge thing to do. I think you can't honestly have them anywhere besides 2, at worst 3. I think that you can have Gentlemates and Falcons swap back and forth, and it honestly doesn't really matter. If Gentlemates was to have beaten Falcons at London, I would have had Gentlemates here and Falcons at 3. Team Falcons. In Swiss, I had never honestly seen anything like it. The pace they were playing with when they beat G2 3-0. G2, first of all, they were playing not well. Like, they just weren't playing well. That pacing, man. I'd honestly, like, I'm not trying to like sound like a Falcons meat writer. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen that high of pacing, like that fast of pacing mixed with that consistent of mechanics. It was honestly something I'd never seen. But then I saw another team do it, and it was in the grand final, and they went on to win the major. That team is G2 Esports. So this one, you can see I have a whole entire, okay, this is just a whole yap session here about G2, but I'll just read it really quickly. Main reasoning, currently the best team in the world, won the London Major, undeniably the most consistent team in the world, have not missed a single grand final. They are 8 for 8. Arguably the 3 best players in NA on the same team. Beast Mode is being regarded widely as the best player in the world along with Zen. In my opinion, the most mechanical team overall in the world. They also can speed it up and be the fastest team in the world, can play at any pace. And we saw that at the London Major. Seem to be the current number 1 overall favorite to win Worlds objectively. If they are peaking, they are almost guaranteed to beat anybody, even if they are playing someone else who is peaking, because their peak is simply higher, at least from what we have seen so far.
And this arena, TLK to the backboard. Beast Mode gets his catch, has to kill the ball. Is he able to? He tries to keep it going instead. Daniel! Score!
Beast, leave the ball alone now, bro.
He's doing too much. Look at him. He's overheating.
Wait, over 1. Atomic, double touch.
Oh!
Right corner. No!
Looking at him right now. He's sweating. Look at this. Atomic has to try to get demos because he can't.
Oh!
Wait, what is that?
Let's take advantage of the heavy touch, excuse me. Digatot dive, feeling a little desperate. Almost halfway through the game. And, oh my God, he was floating there. He pre-jumped. He was off the ceiling floating there. G2 are playing at a level that no one has seen before.
Now Jack gets it out, and Daniel flipping the play on its head, dribbling above first killer, Chronic in the net, so was Jack the fuck!
And you can think that that's just my innate bias coming out, but I really do think G2, they just seem to win. Like, whoever they play against, they match their pace or they outpace them. They just do what they need to do to win. They download teams and they beat them. It's just what they do. That's how they made it to all 8 grand finals that have happened this season, including majors. Is it very possible that they don't make the grand final at Worlds? Yes. I mean, there's just so many good teams that are going to Worlds. After Falcons was doing what they were doing the whole tournament and beat G2 3-0, and then G2 played Falcons in the grand final, beat them 4-1. I just don't know how you can't have G2 at number 1 right now. To me, G2 is as close right now as it gets to perfect Rocket League. They are what happens when you have extremely mechanical players who are also team oriented playing the game at the same time on the same team. They can beat you in so many different ways. They can beat you in solo plays. They can beat you in team plays. They can beat you with beast mode floating on the ceiling for 10 years somehow. It just happens. They figure out ways to do it. They just figure out ways to get it done every single time, and they figure out a way to make every grand final. G2 currently number 1 in the world. I honestly don't know how you can argue against that. I know that there might be people that try to argue against that just because they're mad that G2 won. If you actually are putting bias aside, all your biases aside, and you're actually stepping back, looking at the game and being like, okay, what team is the best team in the world? I don't know how you can't say G2 right now. I really don't. But yeah, that brings me to my last slide now. What the hell? Bro. Okay, there we go. Don't know what was going on there, guys. My apologies. Before I end the video, I just wanted to say, feel free to let me know down in the comments who your favorites are to win the Rocket League World Championship 2024. And yeah, as you can see, this beautiful slide says, thanks for watching, smash like and subscribe.